Hey everybody out in YouTube land, my name is Mike and I love guitars. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a really cool guitar. We're going to take a look at this 1979 Les Paul Standard that a friend recently resurrected and requested that I document on the channel here. So without any further ado, let's do this. As I've said before, out of all the dozens of guitars that I've owned in my life, by far my favorite is my 1979 Les Paul Standard. So when one of my oldest friends, Bill, texted me and said he was getting a 79 Standard, I was immediately stoked for him. When he told me the circumstances of how he was getting it, I was even more stoked. It turns out the guitar was actually a gift from a mutual friend, fantastic guitar player, and all-around good guy named Shelby. As I understand it, the original owner was a country player who played this guitar so much that the frets were worn down to nothing. As a matter of fact, I was told that the two guitars with the absolute worst frets that the luthier who did this resto mod had ever seen were this guitar and my 79 Les Paul when he refretted it several years ago. After the original owner died, a family member decided, for whatever reason, to sand away the original wine red finish down to bare wood and then try and restore it later. As often seems to happen in these types of situations, the project never got any further than removing the finish. So with no further work being done on the guitar, Shelby eventually bought it from the family and in a moment of true generosity gave it to Bill, who is a well-known lover and collector of Les Pauls in my hometown. It was taken to a luthier in Southeast Texas named John Jagno, and Jagno was able to completely bring it back to life. Along with the refret, the cheap gold tuners were replaced with Spurzle locking tuners, and the nut was also replaced with a graphite nut. The only real problem happened when Jagno went to remove the pickup covers from the original T-tops that were in this guitar. It turns out that those pickups were completely dry rotted and simply disintegrated once the covers came off. At that point, the decision was made to install a DiMarzio Super Distortion in the bridge and a DiMarzio Tone Zone in the neck, pickups that Bill simply had laying around. At that point, the final thing this guitar needed was a new finish. Since this guitar was a true Frankenstein, and since Bill got it right around the time that EVH passed away, he decided to pay tribute to Ed and paint it in the classic Van Halen stripe style. Now, since I'm not a shredder and have really never tried to actually learn any Van Halen songs, for the audio demo, I'm actually going to play a section from a song that we used to play in a band many years ago. Just for fun, I'm also going to play the same parts on my 79 Les Paul Standard with the DiMarzio X2N pickup and my 2020 Les Paul Traditional Pro 5 with these stock Tradbuckers in it. All the guitars will be going into the same JCM 800 2204 50 watt head, boosted by the same Ibanez TS9 tube screamer, and run into a torpedo captor running a Marshall 412 IR. So let's get to it. Okay, so what do I think of this guitar? Well, I love it. It's a killer Norlin era Les Paul with a good story, and I love both Norlin era Les Pauls and guitars with good stories. It's a true Frankenstein, so the EVH Frankenstrat paint job fits it really well. It plays really well, and unsurprisingly feels pretty much exactly like my 79 Les Paul Standard. Sonically, things get interesting. Since I'm running a lot of gain between the amp and the TS9, I was curious to see if there was any noticeable difference in tone at all. The short answer is yes. Each guitar does sound different, but honestly the differences are pretty subtle. All three guitars sound great. Les Paul into a Tube Screamer into a Marshall, duh. The Franken Paul is a little mid-rangey, with the Trad Pro 5 being slightly thicker in the low end and my 79 Standard being slightly thicker than that in the low end. The main difference was actually between the two 79 Les Paul Standards, which I didn't expect at all, honestly. Having said that, the difference is still pretty subtle, and you would be really hard-pressed to be able to tell the difference in a mix. And that's it for today's video. Thanks for taking the time to watch and check out this awesome guitar with me. I really can't recommend Norlin era Les Pauls enough. If you happen to come across one at a good price, do yourself a favor and snatch it up immediately. Or, at the very least, let me know about it so I can get it. Well, another video done. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you liked the video, please click the like button below. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And if you have anything to share, please leave a comment below.